Ain't about your bread and I can't fuck with ya. I thought you was 100, but you showed me 50. You said you was gonna ride, huh? And the coupe that's parked outside, that bitch looks so expensive. I bet it cut your eye, huh?
Hey, bro, we got Honeykomb Brazy, bro. Now, I ain't never heard of folks, bro. I ain't never heard of folks at all, bro. But apparently he from Alabama, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, though, bro, we finna hop into these, you know what I'm saying?
Brazy is one of the hottest artists from Alabama, but the rapper has also had a pretty rough come up that has included spending over 10 years in prison, going viral for getting shot on IG Live, and having to deal with the brutal murder of his grandparents, who were both killed and had their house set on fire. Now, the rapper will be going back to prison after being sentenced to 13 and a half years for violating his probation by posing in a music video with guns and drugs. Let's take a closer look at the wild life and career of Honeykomb Brazy. Brazy grew up in Mobile, Alabama, an area that was full of drugs, crime, and violence. The rapper's parents were in and out of jail while he was growing up, and he often stayed with his grandparents. At age 10, he was arrested for the first time after breaking into a factory and riding go-karts with his friends until the police came. After that, he was put on probation. Brazy said that he didn't even make it to high school, which his mom wasn't happy about. But there wasn't much she could say because she was in and out of jail herself. After that, he went and stayed with his aunt for a while, but ended up shooting his own cousin over a money dispute.
Whoa, wait. You shot your cousin?
Yeah, yeah.
Like on accident?
Nah, like on purpose.
Not like on purpose.
He said there was a business situation between his cousin and his dad where some money came up missing. His dad was locked up at the time on a murder charge, so Brazy handled the dispute for him. The cousin ended up paralyzed after the shooting, which caused problems between Brazy and his aunt. But he says that his cousin is back to walking and their relationship is fine now. He was only 13 at the time of the shooting and ended up going on the run before getting arrested. 13? This would be the first time he was sent to prison and wouldn't get out until he was 16 or 17.
13-year-old?
Right after being released, he would get caught up in another situation where he was arrested for first-degree robbery and attempted murder. Brazy says that he didn't actually commit this crime. It was his friend Derek Det Thomas who pulled the trigger. They were together on the day of the robbery, and police reports showed that the victim was walking down the street when he was approached by two teens. They stopped and talked for a few minutes until one of them pulled out a gun and shot him in the leg. The other teen grabbed the money out of his pockets, and they both ran away. The two robbers were later identified as Det and Brazy. Det was the one who actually shot the victim, but because Brazy was more well-known, they ended up arresting him first. But on the day that Brazy appeared in court to face these charges, Det would end up getting murdered. He was shot and killed over a $5 dice game by a 40-year-old man named Anthony Williams.
What the fuck?
Brazy would end up doing 4 years for that charge. But as soon as he got back on the street, he went right back to his old ways and caught another body. In February 2016, just after Brazy was released for the robbery and attempted murder, he allegedly shot 22-year-old Ladarius Stank Moorer, who was a childhood friend. Stank was shot and killed at the Woodlands Apartments where he lived with his girlfriend. He showed up to their apartment, and his girlfriend didn't want to let him in. He ended up kicking on the door and found Brazy inside, who was supposedly there to sell her weed. They started fighting, and eventually, someone pulled a gun, leaving Stank dead. This murder earned Brazy a ton of enemies in his hood because Stank was well known and loved in the area. Brazy went on the run for a while, but was eventually arrested and charged for the murder. He would end up beating the charge, but would spend over a year in jail fighting the case.
Wait, he beat the
charge?
charge?
While he was in jail, he would get into tons of fights and even admitted to stabbing 3 people in one day.
Yeah, I stabbed 3 one day.
Plus, he would even end up getting to spend some quality time with his family, spending 6 months in the same cell as his father, who was still serving time for murder. Brazy and his father have the same name, but different last names, so the jail staff didn't even know they were related. Brazy somehow got the murder charge overturned, but as soon as he was back on the streets, there was more problems. Stank's murder had turned his own hood against him, and many of his childhood friends were now his ops. Once he got out, Brazy would end up getting shot several times. One of the bullets hit him in the head, putting him into a coma for a week, and the doctor said that he would probably never walk again. But
and he survived?
The rapper was back on the streets and planning his revenge on the people that almost took his life. It was also around this time
God
he started
love
putting
you,
studio
boy.
time
Go do
and
something
decided
with your
to take
life.
rap more seriously. In June 2018, he dropped a track called Freestyle, which quickly went viral. It put him on the map as one of the hottest up-and-coming rappers from the South and eventually earned him a deal with Rap-A-Lot Records. Things seemed like they were going good for Brazy and that he may have made it out of the streets. But in February 2020, he was sent back to jail for violating his probation.
And breaking now at 10, a Mobile rapper is going back to prison just a few hours ago. A judge revoking probation for Honeykomb Brazy.
In 2016, the rapper was arrested on gun charges and sentenced to 15 years in jail for violating his probation. The court would eventually reduce the sentence and only made him do 18 months, then serve another 5 years of probation. In January 2020, his parole office filed a motion to have his probation revoked for possession of marijuana and a firearm. Brazy was brought back to jail, but the charge was dropped after the court failed to prove that he was actually in possession of the weed or the gun, and he was allowed to walk free. After being released, Brazy would end up getting into another shootout that almost got him this time. He and his homies were on Facebook Live, sitting in the car outside a barbershop in Montgomery County, Alabama, a few hours from Mobile. A gray BMW slid through and started letting off shots, so Brazy and his crew started firing back.
Damn.
It's not clear if anyone was hit, but many think that Brazy and his crew were set up. Brazy even released a surveillance footage from outside the barbershop showing him and his people firing back in self-defense. Then, in February 2021, the tragic news broke that Brazy's grandparents had been shot and killed and their home had been burned to the ground while they were inside.
The grandparents of a local rapper shot and killed, then their home set on fire. The grim details just revealed by emotional family members at the scene.
Around 6:30 p.m. on February 17, 2021, the neighbors of Brazy's grandparents heard bullets tear through their home. A few minutes later, they went outside to find the neighbor's house on fire. Other witnesses reported that they had heard gunshots and then an explosion as the house went up in flames. It took 3 hours for firefighters to put out the fire, and by that point, everything was destroyed. But they were able to determine that 2 people inside the house had been killed. A witness said that he had heard over 100 gunshots and he and his mother had to duck for cover. The 2 victims were later identified as Layla and Tony Lewis, the grandparents of Honeykomb Brazy.
Layla and Tony Lewis, and were the head of their families. And we've also learned that they are the grandparents of local rapper Honeykomb Brazy.
They were in their 60s and well-loved members of the community. After the news broke, the rapper posted a photo of his grandparents to IG to mourn his loss, writing, "Long live Grandma and Grandpa. Y'all was my heart, for real. I put y'all in every song. I hate y'all got caught up in my shit. Shaking my head. This shit hurt, man. I begged y'all to let me move y'all every day, but y'all taught me how to be a stand-up guy. Y'all told me if it's our time, it's our time. God got us."
Hey, that just goes to show, bro, shit like this is like when you put shit on the media, when you live a reckless life, when you do shit like that, and then you also bring your family into it, and not even that, like, if you ever mention your family ever, if you feel me, like, depending on what you do can affect the people around you, you know what I'm saying? So just don't be so selfish, bro, because, you know what I'm saying, like, doing you and living your life how you want can also affect other people that you love, you know what I'm saying? So y'all just be safe, be careful, feel me? But yeah, lay y'all, God bless y'all, and I'm finna see y'all, bro.
Hop in a coupe and I be good. I got your bitch, you riding past the ground. Ain't about your bread and I can